So I believe this is on. Hey guys, how y'all doing? Obviously, I'm here today to kind of announce what's going on with the channel. I know everything's been kind of sudden, and I just kind of changed everything. Obviously, as you can tell, right here, we basically have a new logo, and I kind of want to bring some insights on why this kind of happened. Obviously, during COVID-19 pandemic, I've been a furloughed employee of Alamo Draft House, and I've kind of been not necessarily sitting around my house, but trying to find different ways to explore and be productive and kind of just find a lot of creative outlets at this point. And I've really personally enjoyed doing the podcast more than anything because it was different. I mean, it was something where I could keep the social interactions without leaving my home and being safe about it, which was awesome. Now, excuse me. Now, obviously, there's kind of been, I guess, for me, I didn't know where to take this podcast. You know, if I'm just going to be really humble about it, like, I didn't know whether to take this as a hobby or something serious, or, you know, what to do with it. What is its prime definition, and what does it mean to me? You know, and that was kind of a lot to just kind of sort out, because I feel like currently I'm at 52 subscriptions, and now that's kind of getting some traction, and I'm personally having a lot more fun with it every day. I'm starting to have plans to come out on other people's podcasts. I'm starting to get more involved with the community. You know, to me, it's starting to feel more and more serious, but let me tell you how I got there. Obviously, a lot of factors, quite frankly, because first of all, me, the number one factor. I definitely had a lack of confidence going into this because, I mean, it's something I've never done. Mind you, I've kind of always been in a leadership role as far as like my work career was, but doing more public speaking, you know, on a camera, on audio, kind of like leading interviews, leading questions. It felt weird for me at first. I mean, it like, though it's something I honestly do every day, it just like, I guess in different contexts, it was just something like, oh, I don't think I could do this. So lack of confidence and honestly self-esteem wasn't there. So recently, I saw a podcast with Troy Baker, obviously the amazing voice actor with upcoming game Last of Us Part 2. And he's always been kind of an inspiration for me. The guy's really down to earth, and during this whole pandemic, he's probably the reason I started doing more due to watching his Instagram. He does this podcast through Instagram, and I finally had a chance to catch it the other day, and the theme of it was, oddly enough, called Sticks and Stones, and he was kind of referring to like what that means to people, what that means to him. And it was a huge Q&A, and basically a lot of people were asking him, honestly, some heartbreaking questions about like self-esteem, you know, coming out of the closet, and like he was very supportive and insightful. He wasn't, obviously, he said himself, he's not like a psychiatrist or a therapist, but, you know, he had some insightful words on like what to do when you feel like you're stuck in these situations. And with watching that, I started thinking of my show as Shoot the Shit podcast formally. And it was obviously, as much as I love the name and the concept, you know, it just didn't fit. And I've been in a lot of podcast communities lately and just kind of understanding what's been going on, like how people kind of find and define their niche, and, you know, look at their audience and what they're doing and how they define that. And it's been really inspirational to sit down and, you know, kind of listen to a couple and be like, you know, I like that about that show. I don't like this. I don't like that. You know, this is cool. I'll add this, or, you know, maybe I'll interpret this now. And, you know, it's been fun. It's been fun to kind of tweak stuff and think about it. And last night, my wife was working on the logo that I love so much, which is really awesome. Or 2 nights ago, I'm sorry. And, you know, we were trying to talk about, like, hey, what do we make for Shoot the Shit podcast? And honestly, nothing came to mind. I mean, like, it was very, for me, like, mind you, like, if you look at Shoot the Shit podcast anywhere, and I realized I didn't even do this beforehand, and I should have, but there's a shit ton of podcasts called Shoot the Shit in some sort of variation, or actually called Shoot the Shit. I know there was one that was actually copyrighted, so eventually, like, I guess if I ever got bigger, it'd probably have some issues. So I knew the name switch would definitely be something I would have to do. So as disheartening as that partially was, the minute like me and my wife kind of had this standstill moment, I was just kind of like, okay, like, fuck it, I'm gonna change the name. And I started thinking like, what I'm gonna change it, and obviously I came to Sick Partis Magna, gaming and podcasts, and everyone's probably thinking, anyone that knows me knows I love Uncharted, and everyone's like, well, yeah, of course you choose something like that, and you know, obviously I've always loved that saying. If you guys don't know what it means greatness from small beginnings, and oh, excuse me, and it's such a big deal, as far as like what that means to me, because I come from a small town in Eagle Pass, and I think of my career and life story and like where I've been, and you know, it's been one hell of a ride, and that's actually what clicked instantly, and all my majority, I would say 90% of my podcast at this point, outside of my first episode, has been talking to people working towards something, working towards their own success, having themselves being established authors, having them be chefs, having them be local musicians working on albums, doing what they do. I have a guy obviously up and coming business with his fitness stuff. Like, you go down the line, and it's always been about someone doing cool shit and how they got there. And it was me, sharing my side of the story too, and like kind of how I came to be. And I fucking love that. Like Sick Parvis Magnum Gaming and Podcast is simply going to be about greatness from small beginnings. We're really going to sit down and talk to people on their successes. And I'm not saying that, like, you need to be a CEO. I'm not saying you need to be like this crazy famous person, but like at the end of the day, if you started from point A and then got to point B and you're fucking proud of that, then you need to be on this show. Because at the end of the day, like, your experience, your knowledge, whatever you've done to get to where you are is going to inspire someone, and it's going to matter, And I'm really fucking passionate about that. I love stories like that. And for me, like, it just made that much more sense, to really pretty much get down to the nitty gritty of like, yeah, this is what we're doing. We're going to talk to some badass people that, hey, like, I became a film student and now like I work for Warner Brothers. Or, hey, you know what? I said fuck my degree from MIT and I started, a restaurant. Some shit like that. Like, I'm sure there's people that have crazy stories, because I even think about my story and how I became the youngest GM for Alamo Drafthouse, officially, like, about 3 years ago. And that's crazy to me. Like, it's fucking crazy. And, I'd like to share that story with the world, and I'd like to share it. I'd love to hear other stories so I could be inspired and do my own thing. Hence why I made this podcast. Obviously there's been a lot of inspiration and talk in my head about like what I want to do with this podcast, and I think this is definitely the next step moving forward. Really defining what the show is, and yeah, Shoot the Shit was fun, and it was very casual. It still plans on being that way. But it's definitely something that I believe is more defined and refined. But with that being said, Shoot the Shit is actually still going to be a part of the show, as far as like another series for the show. I'm not completely getting that out of the picture. I mean, everyone knows I love video games, I love TV, I love movies, I love fitness, I love the Philadelphia Eagles. I love all kinds of bullshit that unfortunately, like, I look into way too much. And, for the most part, that's not going to stop. It's just going to be another section of my show. As you guys know, the Share Music series is up. That's definitely a series that's going to stay. That's not going to change. Shoot the Shit series is literally going to be about, at some point, arguing Uncharted and Mass Effect, like we did back in Beer Break back in the day. And, that shit's going to happen. It's pretty much what I planned and I envisioned for this show. But now there's a really stable foundation as far as where I want to go with it. So with that being said, we are officially Sick Parvis Magna, gaming and podcast. Kind of a mouthful, but understand I am working the rebrand now. My Spotify Anchor is pretty much getting all of it, pretty much getting transformed. My Facebook page, my Twitter, all that's kind of already changing. Some of it's already done. So obviously it's going to sound weird at first, but I'm trying to give everyone so much exposure to understand that like this is what I decided to do. So expect me to blast this video the minute I'm done, because I definitely want people to know that like, hey, like this is exactly why I'm changing it. Not necessarily to confuse anyone, but to really get everyone involved. I want to hear everyone's stories. I mean, I don't care. You know, at the end of the day, like if it's the first time you move out of your hometown and you're the first, you know, college student of your family, like I want to hear your adversities, your wins, your successes, and like what got you to that point. And you know, I'm really excited to hear those stories because I'm sure there's someone out there in the world that wants to hear what you've gone through because they're going through something similar or the exact same situation. Who knows? But I'm really excited, guys. There's a lot more content coming. I'm getting more involved in different podcasts, so expect me to announce when I'm in different podcasts as well. And I mean, all in all, I'm really excited. Thank you so much for, you know, the current viewers watching this video. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. I mean, I think the stories that we're going to share are going to be pretty amazing. I know I'm going to work really hard to get guests on here. You know, I don't care what your story is. I mean, it's something that I think matters, and it's human and it's real, and it's not always about becoming the CEO, but it's all about, you know, taking those little steps, those little victories to become something bigger, and never forget the little victories and the movement that you make in your life, because that's what fucking matters. Don't compare yourself to anyone else. Your success is your measure of success, and that's what you own. So do not let anyone fucking tell you any otherwise. With that being said, thank you so much, guys, for coming. I got to get ready for a couple things today. Expect for me to keep live streaming as far as gaming and the podcast. That's going to stay live. And super excited to take the rest of this journey of this podcast. So I will catch y'all later. Thank you so much. And I appreciate everything y'all do. And keep on the support. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. Y'all have a great day. Be safe out there. And greatness from small beginnings, guys. Let your passion guide you.